Hey everyone! Today we're diving into how to plan and deliver a really powerful lesson for a foundational phonics standard. My whole goal here is to give you a clear step-by-step guide that you can take and use in your classroom like tomorrow.
Okay, let's jump right in. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start by unpacking the standard itself. Then we'll look at how to use the evidence documents to plan for mastery. After that, I'll actually model the core teaching routine, and we'll wrap up with practice, assessment, and of course, differentiation.
So first things first, let's break down the standard. I mean, you can't hit a target you can't see, right? Understanding exactly what we're aiming for is absolutely the most critical first step to great teaching.
At its heart, this standard is all about empowering our students to go beyond just knowing their letter sounds. We want them to be able to apply those phonics skills to read any word they come across, whether it's in a book or just on a flashcard by itself.
And here is the student-friendly I can statement. Seriously, post this in your room. It makes the learning goals so incredibly clear and accessible for your students. It really frames it as a kind of reading superpower that they're developing.
Now, what's really important here is our ultimate goal. We're building what's called decoding flexibility. And what that means is that students aren't just memorizing words. They're actually using phonics as a tool, like a key, to unlock any word. That is the real foundation of becoming a fluent reader.
So how do we take this idea of decoding flexibility and actually use it to plan our lessons? Well, we're going to turn to the Georgia Department of Education's evidence document to get super clear on what mastery actually looks and sounds like.
Think of this document as your best friend for planning. It basically takes all the guesswork out of the equation by giving you really concrete examples of what it means for a student to truly meet this standard.
For example, the document helps us spot the huge difference between real decoding and a really common misconception. A student who correctly sounds out the nonsense word "shope." Now that is a student showing mastery. But a student who just glances at it and guesses soap is falling back on memory, not the phonics rule. And this, right here, is why using nonsense words is so important. They're the ultimate check for understanding because a student has to apply the rule. They can't guess.
So here's the bottom line. These are your success criteria. This is what you're looking and listening for. That first one, apply phoneme-grapheme knowledge, just means they connect the sounds to the letters. During your lesson, you're on the lookout for kids demonstrating these specific skills. This is your rubric for success.
All right, now for the fun part, the really hands-on stuff. Let's walk through exactly how to teach this using the simple but incredibly effective routine right from the strategy card.
This card is brilliant. It lays out the entire teaching process on one page. Think of it as your script. It gives you a routine that's specifically designed to build that decoding flexibility we've been talking about. So let's model it, step by step.
The routine breaks down into 3 easy steps. First, you set the rule, basically just reviewing the phonics pattern for the day. Second, students decode a word using that rule. And third, they sort it. Is it a real word or a nonsense word?
You're always going to start with an I do. This is where you model the whole process with a really clear think aloud. You're making your thinking visible and audible for your students, showing them what's going on in your brain as you read.
And pay close attention to this explicit teacher move. As you say each sound, you have to point to the letter or letters that make that sound. This physical action is so important because it physically connects the visual symbol to the sound it makes for the students.
And throughout the lesson, you'll be using a simple T-chart to sort the words. Doing this together just makes those abstract concepts of real and nonsense way more concrete and visual for your kids.
Next up, you slide right into the we do. This is your guided practice, where you're doing it with them. You give them prompts and support to help them go through the exact same process you just showed them.
Okay, so the kids have seen you do it, they've tried it with you, now what? Let's talk about how you're going to monitor their independent practice and give them that super important in-the-moment feedback. So during the you do, when they're practicing on their own, you're listening with hawk ears. And here's a classic error you might hear. A student sees the word dake, but they read it as dak, totally ignoring that silent E. That's your cue. That's your moment to step in and check for understanding. Your correction has to be immediate and super specific. The key is not to just give them the answer. No way. You use precise language that pushes them right back to the phonics rule itself. This is how we reinforce the strategy, not just the word.
And for a final, quick assessment, a simple exit ticket works wonders. Just give each student one word card to decode as they're leaving the small group. It gives you a really fast but powerful piece of data on who's got it and who might need a little extra help next time.
Finally, let's talk about differentiation.
You know, one of the best things about this routine is that it's so easy to adapt. So let's look at a few simple ways you can tweak it to meet the needs of every single student in your group.
For a multilingual learner, you could pair the real word cards with pictures. That's a great vocabulary builder. For students who just need something more hands-on, use letter tiles so they can physically build the words. And for those kids who are ready for more of a challenge, ask them to use one of the real words in a complete sentence.
So let's recap. Getting your students to master this standard really comes down to a clear, simple cycle. You plan using the evidence document, you explicitly teach that decoding routine, and you're always assessing and differentiating to meet your students right where they are. You now have the evidence-based plan and the practical routine. So the last thing I'll leave you with is this. How are you going to add your own creativity and flair to turn this powerful strategy into a fun phonics game that your students will absolutely love?